Hi, I'm Alex McDonald of NetApp, and I'm here today representing the SNIA Ethernet Storage Forum. The classic ways of dealing with storage have been traditionally block-based storage and file-based access. We've had block-based storage with SANs, and file-based access we've tended to call NAS, or network attached storage. And the two file protocols that we're traditionally accustomed to are NFS and SMB. They've been joined by new object protocols, a variety of them at the moment. We'll probably settle down to some well understood ones over the next few years. And the reason for new protocols is we're looking at new ways of delivering applications and new ways of delivering storage to store the data that those applications need and generate. And I think we're going to see over the next few years quite a bit of change and move towards object stores, and the protocols that they require being quite different from file protocols and block protocols, but still using underlying Ethernet transport technology. And I think that's something that we're going to explore in the near future. One of the things I think people have been looking at with the cloud is looking at it as a peculiar place, a place where you do things differently, where you take your data and you store it in different formats. And perhaps you use object protocols like, for instance, Amazon's S3, or you use block protocols because that's what you've always been accustomed to. But one of the things that I think we're learning fairly rapidly is that the cloud doesn't really change the way that the applications want to deal with their storage. There are applications that like and use block, and we can put block in the cloud, and there are applications that like and use file protocols, and we can use file protocols in the cloud. And I don't think that fundamental change away from storing data locally and in your data center and then moving it to the cloud has actually changed the nature of the way that we actually need to access the storage. So I think file protocols are here to stay, and we're going to see more of them in the future. So one of the things that the industry did many years ago was come up with a set of compliant protocols, a way of dealing with file protocols called POSIX. And in fact, POSIX was a bit broader than that. It actually included ways of dealing, for instance, with processes and tasks in operating systems. But part of POSIX was a set of simple semantics or verbs for being able to access your data. So if you're for instance, in a POSIX compliant world, you open a file, you read a file, you update a file, you write to a file, you close a file, you delete a file, you rename a file, and these are all POSIX activities. SMB, which was Microsoft's file protocol system, and NFS, which was the almost universal Unix way of doing things, have always been slightly different in that SMB wasn't fully POSIX compliant. And that made for difficulties with some applications. If you were trying to move applications from using, for instance, an NFS protocol to an SMB protocol, that lack of POSIX compliance made it a bit difficult. You couldn't use the same calls, the same APIs, and the same way of dealing with the file protocols. That's changing. Although SMB will never be fully POSIX compliant, in fact NFS to a little degree is not fully POSIX compliant either, it is becoming more POSIX compliant so that it's much easier to move applications from using SMB file protocols to NFS file protocols. So that gives you a lot of flexibility when it comes to delivering applications.